Hey friends, welcome to today's video. Today is going to be the greatest day of your life. Do you ever find yourself stuck by life's inevitable twists and turns, wondering how can you bounce back stronger and quicker? Yep, I'm talking about resilience. In yesterday's video, motivation to become unstoppable, I said today that I would talk about being more resilient. You know, you're in the right place today because here your stumbling blocks are going to become stepping stones and you're going to learn how to land safely and get back up even stronger. So, what will help us to be more resilient? I think history is a great teacher, and your personal history can help you become more resilient than you ever imagined. You know, let's kick things off with a little time travel trip to the past. Now, let's not dwell or ruminate, but celebrate our bounce back moments. You very likely have already survived tough times before. Now, looking back at past experiences, especially difficult ones, can provide valuable insights. You have already encountered tough times before, and you have found ways to overcome. Now, reflecting on these experiences can help you understand the strategies that worked for you. Now, think of a time when you felt victorious. What tactics did you use to overcome? Your past can teach you a lot about how to handle future challenges. So let's take a moment to relive those victories and strategies that got you through. You know, your past is your resilience coach, teaching you how you have already fought and you have already won. Boy, I bet you have some thoughts going through your head right now, huh? You've done some amazing things in your life already, and you've already overcome probably some tremendous challenges. Look how prepared you are to work towards your goals and achieve your dreams and desires. You've already overcome so much. You've already done so much. You're amazing, and you're on your way. I'm so proud of you. You're doing such a great job. Let's move forward. Now, how about those sleepless nights when your mind becomes a radio station playing the Worry Top 40 over and over again? We've all been there, right? And those 2 a.m. sessions when fears and doubts seem most overwhelming are usually the product of a distressed mind. They're not based on reality, but on heightened emotions. You know, I suggest that you understand these as the voice of a scared child, not your rational adult self. They seem way scarier than they really are, and you need to recognize this. You can find peace in knowing these fears are often more imaginary than real. I'm going to give you a little tip that I use. Now, when you have some things that have been waking you up in the middle of the night, you've just been laying there thinking about them, I want, before you go to bed, to write all of those worries and those challenges down in your black book, okay? Write them down. Write down how they make you feel. And then what I want you to do after they're all written down is close the book, put the book in your nightstand, and close the drawer. And I want you to make a deal with yourself. I promise that tomorrow, and then a time that's going to work for you, when you know you're not going to be rushed or busy, make a deal with yourself that you will re-review those issues and problems you wrote down in your book at that time tomorrow. Schedule a worry session for yourself. You are going to find that when you write your worries and your problems down on paper and set them aside and make a deal with yourself that you're going to deal with those later, you won't wake up in the middle of the night probably and have your normal worry session because you have made a plan. You've changed the programming in your mind. Your mind is no longer worried about, oh my gosh, what's going to happen on this? This is, oh my goodness, how am I going to overcome this? Anymore, because you've scheduled a time when you're going to sit down and you're going to try to come up with some solutions to your existing problems so the mind can relax. It says, okay, well, there's a plan. I've got this written down. I've got some time scheduled tomorrow to deal with this. And then here's the deal. You got to be honest with yourself. You literally, at that time you've scheduled with yourself, have to fulfill the deal. You're going to have to sit down and face those inevitable problems. And you're just going to have to, because you know what? We all worry. It's human nature, and a certain amount of worrying is necessary. But I'm going to propose a different approach here to managing it. Rather than trying to eliminate the worry altogether, with this tactic that I'm recommending, let's postpone it. We can schedule a time during the day when we're going to feel calm and use that period to consider our worries. Often, when we face our fears intentionally, they lose their power. It's absolutely the truth. I remember when I was a little kid, I was terrified to go on the roller coaster. So I forced myself to face the fear. I got in the chair. I ran on the roller coaster once. You know what? I rode that damn roller coaster all day long. I was scared to death to ride it up front. No matter what your fear is, face your fears intentionally, but schedule time to deal with them. Okay? And it's going to help you out a lot if you do that. Because I know it's easier said than done to face our fears, but it is doable. It's a bit like taking your worries for a walk and letting them snooze for the rest of the day. So we know exactly when we're going to face our fears, our problems, the issues that have come up in our life. We've scheduled that time. We've written them down on a piece of paper, and we're dealing with them. When you deal with things, it just takes the intensity away. It'll help you be better, and it'll help you deal with things in a more manageable way. Just give it a shot, okay? I bet it works for you. And I think you're going to find some really incredible things happen as a result. Another thing that I think is really important that we're already doing is, if we want to be very resilient, we need to make sure that we have manageable goals set for ourselves, right? Because here's the deal. By aligning yourself with your goals and passions and then rewarding yourself when you meet them, it'll help you to stay motivated. Motivation is very important in dealing with our issues and in bouncing back. If we lose motivation, we probably won't find the time to re-engage in a situation. We've already been turned down or whatever it might be. If a door closes, open the door again. That's the way doors work. Okay? If somebody closes a door on you, find a way to open the door again. That's easy enough, right? We are never going to quit, and we don't quit. You're not a quitter. That's why you're here, and we're working together. So I want to tell you that setting your goals is, in a way, setting you up to be super successful and resilient, because people who have goals are more motivated than people who don't have goals. The next thing I want to talk about is a big one, right? And it's called the imposter syndrome. And even those in high-ranking positions or people who have a lot of responsibility, they go through this all the way down the chain, right? And we need to recognize it for what it is. It's negative self-talk and not an accurate reflection of our abilities. We all have negative self-talk. We come up against a challenge or some sort of a roadblock, and what's the first thing we do? We imagine the worst case scenario. We negative self-talk ourselves. We think, oh my gosh, I'll never be able to overcome this. Oh, how will I do this? Oh, this is insurmountable. Well, that's a bunch of crap. You know it and I know it. You can overcome anything. All you got to do is have effective strategies that put you in the right mindset, the right frame of mind, and you can overcome anything because you're amazing and you are incredible. You have incredible abilities and energies inside of you that the world is just waiting to see, and you're going to present to them because you're going to keep moving forward, and we don't quit. That's the whole deal. The rest of the world may see a confident and competent person, right? That's okay. But that's not what the imposter sees. When we come up against a negative circumstance or something extremely difficult and we just don't think we're going to be able to bounce back from this setback, what do we see? We see vulnerability, and it's a vulnerability experienced by people in demanding situations who lack support and are isolated. So what I'm going to recommend to you is talk to your trusted partner. Tell them how you're feeling. Tell them about what you've come up against. This isn't a free therapy session. What it is you're looking for some constructive advice from someone you trust. Tell them how you feel. I tell you what, when you get things out there and you tell somebody how you feel, you tell them what you've come up against, and hey, it's okay to tell somebody, I'm scared. I don't know if I can overcome this. I'm not sure. All I want to do is go to bed and pull the covers up over my head. And I'm going to tell you what, I've been there several times myself. It helps to talk to a trusted friend or your trusted partner. I tell you what, tell your spouse or your loved one, because I tell you what, it'll help to build your relationship with them. A lot of positive things come out of honest sharing. So be vulnerable with your trusted partner or a trusted friend and tell them, hey, I'm scared. I'm not quite sure how to overcome this. Two things are going to happen. One, while you're telling them your issue, you're probably going to realize it's not that big of a deal, or you're going to come up with some sort of a solution to resolve it yourself because you're talking it through with somebody else. Don't just sit there and talk to yourself about it. Talk to another human being, somebody who can give you some good feedback. Or they're going to provide you with some honest advice that's either going to help you see the scenario in a different way and make it more manageable for you to handle it, or they're going to give you some advice based on their personal experience, and you're going to incorporate their solution and resolve your issue. So we have multiple opportunities here to better ourselves and to become more resilient. So let's at least stick with that and do the best we can. But remember, we need to deflate the drama. Catastrophic thinking or imagining worst case scenarios is a common response to stress. It often leads to increased anxiety and prevents problem solving. And that's true, right? So what we need to do is acknowledge that we're seeing this as a worst case scenario and be honest with yourself. Oh my God, the sky is falling, whatever it might be honest with yourself about and be accurate with yourself about how you're reviewing a scenario, and then consciously choose to begin to see best case scenarios. It's not always the worst. I can tell you, I remember one time I had some tooth pain and it was from a crown. And I thought, oh my gosh, you know what? This crown is probably going to fail. They're going to have to take the tooth out. I had to go to the dentist. By the time I was done, I was in the I had myself mentally in the ER. They were going to have to do some sort of dental surgery to fix this. I went into the dentist. They sat me down in the chair and she just popped it off, put some glue on it, pushed it down really hard, and sent me on my way. All she had to do was just re-glue this crown back on the tooth, but it was causing irritation on the gum when it was loose, and it was giving me some pain. But in my mind, worst case scenario, I thought I was gonna need dentures or something. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about when you just go down that horrible path. But it really wasn't that bad, and I think 9 times out of 10, it never really is as bad as we think it is, right? But inherently, we have this internal system called fight or flight. And you know what? When we perceive a danger or a threat, it's genetically programmed within us to help us survive. And I tell you what, the optimistic approach can help you identify solutions, and it can help you overcome this fight or flight response. It's not your fault that you have anxiety, that you're worried about things. We're genetically programmed to be that way. It's what keeps us from getting eaten by the dinosaur. You know what I mean? You've heard it before. It's absolutely true. It's a safety net, and it's an internal system that we can't override it. It's hard-coded in our system. We're always going to have that fight or flight mechanism inherently within us. But what we can do is we can develop some coping strategies, and when the fight or flight hits us hard internally and we're imagining the worst-case scenario, we can stop. We can just stop. And we can take a deep breath. And as easily as we are imagining the absolute most negative scenario that could ever happen to any human being on the planet, we can consciously decide to begin thinking about what can go right. We don't always have to sit around and talk about the problems. Sometimes we can talk about the solutions. And I recommend focusing on the solutions and focusing on the positive and saying to yourself actively and openly, in my case, I would say, Douglas, I am no longer going to allow you to focus on the negative and think about the worst, most catastrophic thing that could possibly happen. We're going to start thinking about the positive, and we're going to start working towards a positive outcome for this issue. You say that out loud to yourself and say it over and over a few times, actively, out loud. Go somewhere where you're alone. Tell yourself, you're listening. As much as you're listening to what other people are saying to you, you're listening to yourself just as actively. And the self-talk you have and the things you say to yourself, you're taking action on just as much as you are when somebody tells you you're not good enough or they don't like you. When you tell yourself you can't do it and you're not proud of yourself, you're hearing the exact same thing as if somebody else said it to you. So let's change the conversation. When you change that conversation, it will change everything. And it'll make you more proactively think of the positive, help you come up with solutions instead of just focusing on the problem. You can do it. I know you can. Absolutely you can do it. 100%. Hell, if I can do it, anybody can do it. You've got this. You have totally got this. I know you can nail it. It's all about managing the sky is falling thoughts and turning them into a more upbeat tune, right? And we can do that actively. We just have to choose to do so. If you want to change your thoughts, all you have to do is change your thoughts. It's as easy as that. And then you'll be completely unstoppable. I also think that resilience is just not about weathering the storms, but it's also about growing from them. It's about learning from yourself, becoming more self-aware, and learning from others too. And you can see how all that will happen as you progressively pass through the recommendations I'm making here, right? Because when you bounce back, it's not just about returning to your previous state, but growing into a new and more robust one. The resilience you build today can better prepare you for tomorrow's challenges, right? I tell you what, resilience isn't just about survival, but it's about growth and personal development. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's a catchy song lyric, but it's also a resilience mantra. So it's something you can say to yourself, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Say that over and over to yourself. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger. And I think probably for the most part, the situations you're in on a day-to-day basis, there's no threat of loss of life. But I tell you what, we get enough negative thoughts going on up in our heads and it's just the same thing. Our brain and our supercomputer and our body can't tell the difference between real and unreal, and it'll continue to work on a circumstance from a negative standpoint until you change your train of thought and make things more positive for yourself. And we can do that through a positive self-talk. We can do it in many ways. And it's fascinating. It's totally fascinating, to realize that we can make these changes. And once you make these changes, you kind of think to yourself, why was I ever dealing with things like that? Look at all the unnecessary worry I went through. Look at, all the unnecessary crap I allowed to happen. I could have just changed my train of thought, changed my focus, changed my approach, and everything would be different, right? And it's absolutely true. I tell you what, keep an open mind and an open heart, right? Because you never know when you're going to stumble on a lesson that's tailor-made for you. And it's important to remember that while these strategies that we've discussed are universal, your journey is going to be unique, okay? So your experiences, perspectives, and circumstances are going to change how you apply the things that we're discussing. But be patient with yourself, because as you As you navigate your path to a more resilient mindset, progress might be slow, but remember that with every step, no matter how small, it's a step forward. And I want you to also remember that no matter how long or how great your journey is, every single journey begins with one step. Take that step today, friends. Better yourself and become more resilient. Let's be more positive together and keep working on things, okay? I think one more thing I want to say is do not shy away from seeking help when needed, okay? We are social beings, and there's an immense power in sharing and learning from each other and supporting one another. But if you're in a circumstance where you need some professional support, I want you to reach out immediately and get in touch with somebody who can provide you the assistance that's necessary. And if you don't feel comfortable reaching out to a professional, reach out to a friend and tell them that you need some help, okay? And I'm sure that you'll be able to get into a circumstance where if you need something above and beyond the advice that I'm providing today, there are professionals out there that can provide you with the advice and guidance that's specific to your needs so you can continue down your winning path, okay? Hey, as always, I'm going to be here for you tomorrow. Thanks for joining me today, friends. I hope you have the greatest day of your life. I care about you. I believe in you, and I know you can do it. I'll be back tomorrow. See you then.